Hello there. See this calculator? I've been messing about with this calculator for 20 minutes and I just can't do it. I cannot make 16.2 million to be greater than 17.4 million, nor can I make 52% to be smaller than 48%. So it begs the question, why the bloody hell is the UK still in Europe? I'll tell you why. 3 years ago we had a referendum, the purpose of which was to shut up the minority Eurosceptics in Parliament for good. And this is borne out by the fact that 480 MPs voted to remain, while only 159 voted to leave. But the plan had a fatal flaw. They gave a vote to the public and they wrongly assumed that they were representative of the public opinion. Well, when the results came in and Leave had won the vote, they were in total shock, the MPs. Yeah. So what did they do? Soon after they had a general election. So all the parties made it part of their manifesto that if we voted and put them into power, that they promised that they would deliver on Brexit. Well, 3 years down the line, nobody's delivered on Brexit. So what else did they do? They tried to tell us that the Leave didn't know what they were voting for. They didn't understand Brexit. They didn't understand the consequences of Brexit. Well, I beg to differ. 17.4 million people knew exactly why they voted Leave, what they voted Leave for, and what they wanted out of Brexit. The 17.4 million people voted to leave the EU to take back control of their own country. They voted so that they could create their own laws, that they could negotiate their own trade deals. Basically, they wanted to leave the customs union and leave the single market. Where's the confusion? They also wanted to end free movement. Now, I would say that not a very big amount of the 17.4 million would have any problem with our close Western allies, the likes of France and Spain and Italian people, yeah, coming to Britain, working, contributing to the economy, no problem there. The reason they voted for free movement and to end it, yeah, was it was their only hope that somehow it may be the answer to halting the mass immigration that's happened in the UK over the past 30 years because of the EU's open borders policy. So basically, they wanted to avoid the demographic suicide that this open border policy will cause. The people also voted hoping that it would release mountains of cash into the UK economy. Billions of pounds that are being sent every year to the EU for whatever reason, and billions more that are being spent in this country housing and looking after immigrants. Money that they feel would be better spent on our own NHS, our own education system, our own infrastructure, and to help alleviate the UK's own poverty problems and homelessness issues. Thing is, so many different kinds of people voted to leave. Take farmers. Farmers all over the country who are sick to death of having to operate with two hands tied behind their backs and a cattle prod up their ass because of EU rules and regulations and constraints put on them. Fishermen all over the country who just want to fish for English, British fish in British waters without interference from the EU. The thing is, the people voted to end the desecration of the British sovereignty. People voted to free themselves from EU bureaucracy, from PC madness, so that they can watch their children in nativity plays at Christmas, so that they can hang the British flag, the St. George's Cross, whenever they feel like it, so they can celebrate their culture, celebrate their history, celebrate their nationality without being told to stop it because it may offend some other religion. So basically, the people voted to take back their Britain so that they could make it great again. Now, it wasn't a racist vote. The referendum was a split vote. It was split between left and right. It was split between liberals and nationalists. Now, it was a split vote with a split decision. And in boxing terms, a split decision ends with a winner and a loser, and the winner holds sway. So Leave won the split decision. So we should already be out of here. What should have happened is, after the vote became clear that Leave had won, the Remainer MPs should have stood aside and allowed the Brexiteer MPs to get together and to thrash out a deal, for us to leave, a Brexit deal, take it to the Prime Minister, let her take it to Europe. Done and dusted, we would have been out of here 2 years ago. But that could not happen because the Remainers would not allow it to happen. They would not accept defeat. They would not accept the wishes of the people, of the majority of the people. So you have Remainer MPs in constituencies who voted sometimes by as much as 62% to leave. And you've got these MPs saying they're fighting Brexit because they believe it's in the best interest of their constituents. No, the constituents pay you to carry out their wishes. What's in their best interests is that you do that simple fucking task, okay? And if they want you to facilitate Brexit, and that's their wish, then facilitate Brexit. You see, Mr. Speaker, you have got traitors, because for an MP to go against the wishes, the expressed wishes of the majority of their constituencies is treachery. It's treacherous behaviour, which means they're a traitor to their constituents. Now, the other thing that I'm sick and tired of hearing from Remainers, from Remainer MPs, is that how they are willing, to compromise. You what? You're willing to compromise? How gracious of you. You fucking lost. You've got no right to compromise. Your arrogance in suggesting you're willing to compromise is astounding. In every conflict, be it verbal, or physical, any conflict, any confrontation that ends with the declaration of a winner and a loser, the winner holds sway. If the winner chooses to compromise and throw a few scraps, the way of the loser, then so be it. But the loser has no right to dictate any terms or to dictate that they're willing to compromise. Do you think that if Remain had won the vote, that there would have been any compromise, any concessions towards Leavers? Do you think if Remain had won the vote, they'd have said, oh, that's okay, we'll leave the customs union for you. Or we can leave the single market, or we can end freedom of movement to keep the Leavers happy. Absolutely no chance, not a cat and hell's chance. If Remain had won the vote, it would have been done and dusted there and then, that day, on the spot. There'd have been no compromise, there'd have been no re-vote, there'd have been no debate. We'd have been back to the status quo the very next day. The arrogance of these Remainers to talk about compromise is just stunning, absolutely stunning. Anyway, the outcome is still unclear. It hasn't been decided, it's not happened yet. There may be a hard Brexit, we may leave with no deal, it may rumble on forever. They've been fighting it for 3 years, so that the smart money is on this just rumbling on and on. So basically, the only thing that is clear is the attempted betrayal of the majority of the British people. So what's next for the 17.4 million? Well, there's bound to be a general election soon, so that's the chance for 17.4 million people to bare their teeth when they have actually got some power at the ballot box, assuming they're not rigged. So what should the 17.4 million do? Should they vote for the Liberal Democrats, a party who's 100% behind Remain, whose every MP voted to Remain, a party who, despite having the name Democrat in its name, has fought against democracy for the last 3 years? If that party wasn't finished before now, it surely is now. Forget about the Lib Dems. They've gone. So what about voting for Labour, another left-wing party where 95% of their MPs voted to Remain? This is a party who are so far into bed with the Muslim world that by the very definition of that relationship, they have to be an anti-Semitic party. Because as the saying goes, the friend of the enemy is also the enemy. This is a left-wing party whose leader, Jeremy Corbyn, his judgment is so shocking and questionable. His allegiances all around the world to, let's call them, iffy factions, and even his judgment in choosing the people that he has working underneath him is shocking. Take Diane Abbott. The thought of somebody like Diane Abbott holding a position of great power in this country, if Labour were voted in, should be enough to deter any right-minded, sane UK person from ever voting this Labour government into power. So the Labour Party, whose predecessors over the last 30 years have been the very parties who have flooded the country with immigration. So vote for Jeremy Corbyn and his Labour Party. Vote them in at the next election. You may as well bang the final nail in the coffin of British sovereignty. So what about the Tories? Should we vote for the Tories? Now, the Tories party was the most pro-Brexit party, with 42% of their MPs voting to leave. But the problem is it's such a divided, divisive, indecisive party that's full of self-serving, backstabbing MPs. It's just difficult to vote for them. But among them, they have got some good Brexiteer MPs who could do some good if they weren't being stifled by such an archaic backbench. My suggestion to them MPs, among them are some really good MPs. One in particular who's vilified almost daily by the BBC. And you know what? That means he's good enough for me. So my suggestion to these Brexiteer MPs in the Tory party will be that they should break away, find pastures new, leave the Tories, either set up a Brexit party, and I'm not talking about alongside that idiot Nigel Farage. I'm saying find the only true pro-Brexit, pro-Britain party in the UK, which is UKIP. Now, I know you're going to hear people saying, oh, we can't have UKIP, and God, we can't vote UKIP, and look at their fixation with Islam. Well, I tell you what, go and take a little plane ride to Brunei and find yourself some gay people or some people who've been convicted of adultery, and you ask them if keeping an eye on the radical side of Islam in your country is a good idea, because that's what UKIP do. They're not just anti-Muslim, they're not anti-Muslim, they're not even completely anti-Islam. They're just anti the radical side of Islam, which anybody with half a brain in the head who's read the scriptures should be. So that's my suggestion anyway. The pro-Brexit MPs and the Tories and elsewhere should get together and form some kind of a coalition with or without the UKIP and try and form a third outlet for our votes, because at the moment our democracy is broken. Our democracy is in an almighty mess, and something drastic needs to change to make it right again, if it ever can be. But there is one good thing about Brexit. Yeah, Brexit has opened people's eyes. People who had no interest in politics before, people like myself, who've been given an insight into our MPs, into the workings of our Parliament, into what goes on in the House of Commons. And we've been able to see our MPs in action. We've been able to see their arrogance, their snobbery. We've been able to see the disrespect they show towards the people's votes. And it's been shocking. It's been an eye-opener. And I think it's going to change politics in this country for years to come. There'll come a time when the technology is available for all big decisions in this country to be decided upon by the people with the push of a button. Can't wait for that time. But until then, a little message to the politicians. The people of UK, 17.4 million of them, and the majority, voted to leave the EU. 17.4 million people knew what they were voting for when they wanted to leave the EU. Respect their wishes. Do what you're paid to do. Share this video everywhere, okay? Until next time, take care.